Hi, it's Michael Sunoff with Michael Sunoff's HardToFindSeminars.com. The title of this interview is called Why Haven't People Suffering from Heart Disease and Diabetes Been Told About These Things? Dr. Duke Johnson, author of The Optimal Health Revolution, just couldn't sit by and watch health book after health book being published with advice so bad it was likely killing people. So he decided to write his own based on real research and truth. According to Dr. Johnson, serious health problems aren't just happening in the United States. History shows that as soon as a nation's industrialized, they develop heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, likely caused from the mass production of food. But if you know how to eat for optimal health, none of that can ever affect you. And in this audio interview, you'll hear the straight truth about how to do that. You'll also hear exactly what foods you need to avoid in order to prevent heart disease and diabetes. You'll learn a painless way to lose 10 pounds a year without really trying. You'll learn the scary side effects that happen to our bodies when we take in the chemicals found in fake sugars and fats. You'll learn a quick food prescription if you're pre-diabetic that will pull you away from the disease before any problems come up. You'll learn that little pill you should be taking every day that will boost your health and reduce your anxiety. You'll learn the dark truth about the protein diet trend and why it's more dangerous than people believe. You'll learn all about the foods you probably eat every day that causes your immune system to malfunction and attack your own body without you even knowing it's happening. Dr. Johnson says avoiding the foods that cause health problems doesn't mean you have to eat weird stuff or starve yourself. And in this audio interview, you'll hear how to survive the processed food epidemic and enjoy the long, healthy life you deserve. Now let's get going.
Hi, this is Chris Costello, and I've teamed up with Michael Sunoff to bring you the world's best wellness-related interviews. So if you know anyone struggling with their weight, with cancer, diabetes, ADHD, autism, heart disease, or other health challenges, please send them to Michael Sunoff's HardToFindSeminars.com. Dr. Johnson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Chris. Wonderful to be with you.
So you've written a great book called The Optimal Health Revolution, and you cover so many topics in it to talk about inflammation. You talk about how to create health. How did you come to write this book? What inspired you?
I was an emergency room physician and switched to preventive medicine after diagnosing heart attacks on people in their late 30s, early 40s. You know, this is ridiculous. We shouldn't be dying of these chronic diseases at such an early age. And in the last several years, I've been involved in prevention for 20 years. In the last several years, I've noticed so many bad books that would actually point away from the most recent research as far as what we need to do to help reduce chronic disease. I just couldn't take it anymore. I thought, you know, people really need to know the best science, and that's the origin of the book. The number one killer, you know, in essentially almost every industrialized nation, not just the U.S., is heart disease. It used to be around 45% of people. Now it's a little bit closer to 35%. Heart disease has gone down a little bit. We're going to see an upswing with that in the not-too-distant future because of the worldwide epidemic of type 2 diabetes, which is another chronic disease. And the number one cause of death in diabetics is heart disease. Well, the second biggest killer would be cancer. And among all of the, in essence, chronic diseases are diseases that occur over a long time period. So that would include type 2 diabetes, it would include obesity, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, etc.
What are the numbers on worldwide obesity?
In general, it's interesting. As a country, especially as a country industrializes, obesity has a tendency to go up. I list a range of numbers in the books because not every country is the same, but roughly there's a similarity in that between 50 to 60% of people in most countries that are industrialized are now considered overweight. It's more than just ready access to food. In fact, the largest chapter of the book is about the worldwide obesity epidemic. But I honestly believe that on a simplified form, yes, we're taking in more calories often than we need. And so we all have very commonly a sedentary lifestyle. We're not burning those calories up. But beyond that, I also believe that our chronic inflammatory lifestyles are actually triggering mechanisms that accelerate the obesity epidemic, and there's some research that points in that direction. And that's really why I focused on what is inflammation, where does it come from, because it seemed to be the unifying factor in almost all scientific literature that's come out in the last 10 years. And it's interesting, we noted that in essence the inflammation was involved, but now, and the big debate is it a cause or a result? And I really think it's both. I think that it actually causes causes chronic disease, and it also is a result. If I may first define what is inflammation, and then that'll help them understand how to avoid it. Inflammation is really a reaction of the immune system. And to give you an idea, our immune systems were not all bad. In essence, our immune system was beautifully designed to, when an offending organism like a bacteria or virus, etc., comes in, then our immune system will release inflammatory molecules to kill it. And the way I like to give the analogy is that if our body was a house and our immune system was a lion defending the house against a mouse, namely viruses or bacteria, the way it's designed is the lion, when it sees a mouse, it gets up, it gets incredibly angry, it races over, it pounces on the mouse, it kills it, and then it lays back down again, looking for another mouse. Well, in our industrialized societies, we have entered in a lot of components into our bodies, whether it be manufactured fats, false fats, processed foods, false sugars, herbicides, pesticides, all kinds of chemicals that the immune system sees as being foreign, but it wasn't designed to kill it. So in essence, what they're doing is they're kicking the lion, they're making the lion angry, and it's walking around the house looking for something to kill, but it doesn't see any mice. So it's ticked off, it wants to kill something, it's knocking over tables, chairs, in other words, it's causing damage. And that's in essence how these chemicals are stimulating the immune system. In essence, when I say these chemicals kick the lion, there's a lot of inflammatory molecules that rise, and so it's a chronic condition that in essence when we eat processed foods or foods that are high in lots of different chemicals, etc., we are over time, over months and over years, taking in chemicals that are actually destructive. And when they're originally created, they were created to in essence produce more food, which was good, but when people around the world stopped dying of starvation, then the negative side effect of these chemicals are in essence that they have a tendency to overstimulate the immune system, which is not what it was designed for.
So is that why we're seeing this increase in chronic disease?
Absolutely. In fact, in the U.S., I've got statistics I have in the book that show that heart disease and cancer were not a major cause of death at the turn of the 20th century. But with industrialization, when we started mass-producing cars and et cetera, we also started mass-producing animals and food production and et cetera. So all of a sudden, you can see in the graph, beginning that time period, the major causes of death, heart disease and cancer, start rising. Well, I have actually patients that live in 30 different countries that come to our center in Southern California. In fact, most docs have a perspective of people who come from those countries who move to the United States, for example. But I literally have people who come visit our center, we assess them, and they go back to their country with their cultures, their diet, their lifestyle, et cetera, and then we'll come and see them on repeat visits again and again. So literally they're living in 30 different countries, which is a very unique perspective. And so where I started getting insight into this was when I looked at the Ministry of Health or the World Health Organization of these different countries, because I wanted to design our program to be unique to those particular countries. And what I noted was that as each country industrializes, that same graph I told you about the U.S., kicks in. The only difference is which year. So, for example, in Japan, heart disease and cancer start rising rapidly right after World War II. And cancer was very low in Japan prior to World War II, and right after World War II, it has gone up and gone up steadily every year. Korea after the Korean War, Brazil and India in the 1970s, and in China, of course, it all started in the 1990s, and in just 16, 17, 18 short years, they've caught up to us as far as chronic disease ratios are concerned very closely in just a very short time.
Hi, it's Michael Senoff with HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching this video. You know, many of my interviews last 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, sometimes even up to 2.5 hours long. They're actual mini seminars, and you've just listened to a short sample of just one of over 117 hours of exciting, hard-hitting, mind-blowing interviews on how to make money in direct mail, advertising, copywriting. I assure you, there is not a resource anywhere on the internet or on the planet that comes close to the free information I provide at HardToFindSeminars.com. So go right now to HardToFindSeminars.com and you'll have free access to 117 hours of audio interviews with typed word-for-word downloadable transcripts and downloadable MP3 files. Please browse some more of the videos or go right directly to HardToFindSeminars.com. Thanks for watching.